On January 6th, 2024, which was the day after I became, unemployed, I signed up for my unemployment, I signed up for my COBRA, and then I started on my journey of 2024. And 2024, man, what a year. What an absolute fuck ass year, And I am so grateful for it. I really cannot imagine a more transformative, more reflective, a year where I've learned more about myself and about business and about creativity than this year itself. So I'm filming this on December 2nd, 2024. So essentially, when it comes to job hunting, I kind of been on this battle between job hunting and my own endeavors. If you know me at all, you know that I have my photo booth business, I have my podcast, Life in Bold, and I have been working on a comedy career. You know that I'm an entrepreneur and I'm a creative and I love helping people with their creativity and I love collaborating on creativity. And you just know me. Like, I post on social media all the time. Something that I notice is when I meet people that I don't know that well who follow me on social media, they tend to really know me because I'm posting my journey all the time. And I'm happy to say that I was consistent with that throughout this whole year, posting my journey and posting my highs, posting my lows. And really in February and March and April, I found myself job hunting and I was interviewing at TikTok, I was interviewing at Fair. There were a few other companies in there. None of them were a fit. And I was just really discouraged by what was out there and like the cultures of the company and like the way that I was being treated as a candidate. And essentially I went home in like February or March of this year and I was talking to people and like the overwhelming idea that I was getting was like, maybe I should be doing my own thing. And maybe I should be going out and like building a business for myself. And what hit me so strongly was that is how I felt in 2020. And then I joined this company and I was like, doing my own thing and also working at the company. And I really did love a lot of it, but like toward the end of it, I was just like, this isn't what I want to be doing, just based on the role itself. So around like April or March, I was in therapy and I was like, I really feel uninspired by this idea of like job hunting and interviewing and updating my resume and all of that. And like, he was like, yeah, it's really not inspiring. Like, it's not something that you're interested in and it's not something that you care about. That's changed now. I've kind of gotten a new perspective and a new kind of set of values that I'll get into. It was a really interesting challenge to think through, like, what would I do if I was going to do my own thing? And I was in therapy and I was telling him how I had just booked a couple of photo booth gigs and how much joy that brought me in. I think I had a day where like I brought in a photo booth gig, I got paid to edit a video, and like I think I sold a gift card or something. And I was telling my therapist how proud I was and how good it felt to just make money on my own and like to just generate ideas for making money. And he was like, well, let's like do the math. Like, let's think about how much you would need to make in order to replace your salary at your last job. And ultimately we did the math. And, if I charged full price for 8 events, I would make the salary that I was making. And like every time I've told someone that, they're like, that seems possible. Like, that seems like you could do that. And I also feel like it's possible and that I could do it. It just requires ultimately like for me to boost my SEO and to boost my website and to build relationships and go out there and like actually be in the world as a photo booth person and build a reputation. And so that's what I set out to do. I told my friends, I was like, I'm going to try to be Ben, the photo booth guy. And then on the side, I'll do my podcast and my comedy career. And I did it. I mean, that's what I was doing. I was over the summer, I would go to a coffee shop in the morning and I would get out my laptop and I would work on my website and work on my SEO, and I would build my Google page and I would make little lookbooks and blog posts and websites and all that kind of stuff. And I actually hired a business coach. She's a creative business coach is what she calls herself. And I ended up just really clicking with her and finding a lot of success in my work with her, and I revamped the whole business, and one thing that I've realized is that I expected pretty immediate results. Like I was thinking, like, I'm going to hire a coach, and in these 3 months that I'm working with the coach, I'm going to revamp the business and it's going to become a total success where I'm making enough money for it to be my full-time job and, all of that. And as I sit here 8 months later, it's clear to me how that was a little bit of a ridiculous thought, but how much has changed and how much has grown in the photo booth business. I mean, I was just looking at my data and my pictures and all of the stuff from the photo booth. And in the last 9 days, I've done 3 events. And like, if that was going to be my schedule, like that would be 9 events in the month. If I was able to do 10 events per month, I would totally be supporting myself. That's the funny thing about this business. And so I've been really inspired by it most of the year, and every day I work on it. I really do. And I don't know if people realize how much, I mean, I probably do. They probably realize how busy I am working on this because I'm posting about it, I'm making videos, I'm updating people, and I think people do know that I work on the photo booth business all the time. My comedy, I really have done a lot of cool stuff with my comedy this year, but it's been a lot more focused. I don't think I've been going out and performing at, twice a week like I did in 2023, but I've had way more targeted, focused performances. I did a spring show where I had a ton of people come out and visit me at Stonewall, and I did a whole show of songs and musical comedy, and then I elevated it for a Halloween spectacular at Stonewall in October. And that was just the height of my comedy career so far. That's just been the thing that I'm the most proud of. I really put together a fantastic show. I wrote all new songs for the show, and I had a dance number, I had a cover, I had costumes, and it was a really well put together show. And I very much enjoyed that. And so I actually emailed Stonewall and got booked for another spring show, but I'm actually doing 2 dates, which is a big accomplishment. And then I'm setting the goal, and I'll probably do a whole goal setting video outside of this, but I am setting the goal to do a tour. I want to go to a couple of cities in the spring and do my spring show and see how that goes. I think that'll be awesome. And then podcast wise, I've been really loving the podcast. Life and Bold is my podcast, and I interview queer comedians about their journey toward living boldly, or at least mostly queer comedians. I really enjoy doing the podcast. It's been a really, really good tool for me to make friends in the comedy community, and it's a really good way for me to boost my profile in the world of comedy and entertainment. But I'm ready in 2025 to take it to the next level and to make it something that you don't necessarily have to be interested in performing to kind of be interested in the podcast, because I think what I did was I niched down to an appropriate amount to build what it is today, but now I'd like to get it a little bit less narrow and include more people in the lineup of guests that I have. And I'd also like to shoot for some challenging guests, like who could I reach for? And now that I'm on episode 60, I'm on episode 60, and I'm really proud of that. And I think that now that I've built such a brand with the podcast, with everything that's going on with it, I could probably reach out to some higher profile people and try to get them on the show, which I think would be a good way to bring more listeners in. And with all of this, it's all the challenge of how can I support myself on my own endeavors? And I told myself I did not want this to be a video where I'm plugging all of my projects. I want it to be a video that I share my perspectives. So let's do that. So I would say the thing that I learned the most this year, and where I'm currently sitting, is in this place of understanding that I myself am my own decision maker. And I myself am the person who is going to care the most about the outcome of where I take myself. And I'm also responsible and accountable for my own journey and my own health and my own life. I think that I've always known that, but I over explain. I'm an over explainer. I get worried that people don't approve of what I'm doing. And it's going to require me to break off of that if I want to get to the next level of my own success. I don't care what people think is the mantra of the future of my life. I think when we think about, like, do I care what people think? We're thinking of haters. We're thinking of people who disapprove of what we're doing. But what I need to remind myself of when I say I don't care what people think, it's the people that I love and the people who love me. My parents, my friends, bosses, mentors. I'm the one who knows what's right for me, but I have some digging to do to get there. And that's been the biggest lesson for me in 2024, because so much of my life I've been trying to impress my parents or trying to prove that I'm happy, which is ridiculous because who cares if I'm happy? Happiness is such a complex word, and it's really more about fulfillment and really more about steadiness. And I don't want to live for the approval or for the thoughts of other people. And that's so funny because all my life I've been like, be who you are. Don't care what people think. But when I have thought about what people think, I'm always thinking about the people who are outwardly haters. And that's not who I've never cared what those people think. I've always cared what my friends think and my parents think. And so I got to let go of that. Another thing that I've learned is that sometimes the best things that come to you are easy and natural. You know, there's a couple ways that I've learned this. The first way is that I've been on medicine to lose weight. I take Wegovy and I've been on it since maybe May or June. And I have lost weight, not an absolute ton of weight, and but it's made a difference for me, and I really appreciate the medicine, and I appreciate my doctor for helping identify that what I was dealing with was a medical thing. I was taking mental health medicine that was weight gaining. And she was like, just so you know, like, you're gaining weight and you're craving certain food in part because of this medicine. And also, like, I don't know, just the way your brain is working and the way your blood sugar is working and whatever, like, based on your tests and all your blood pressure and this and that, you are a perfect candidate for this medicine. And I learned about it. I did my own research and I decided for myself, because I'm the guy who knows, that this is the medicine that I want to do for my own health. And it has dramatically increased my energy and my agility and my confidence and my blood pressure. My heart rate was really high. Now my heart rate is pretty normal. And I'm just really grateful for that. And part of what the lesson here is like, sometimes it's not like your fault, you know, like sometimes it's like not because you're not working hard enough or not because you're not motivated enough or not disciplined enough. Like sometimes it's just because that's a problem that exists and you haven't found the right solution. Another example is I have been doing business all year and doing sales and customer service. And the people who buy my product, the photo booth, most people who pay me the most in my business are the people who just do a couple back and forth and bam, let's do it. It's not that necessary to go back and forth and negotiate and try to convince and like reach out to people who have ghosted me and like try to get them to buy my product because they don't want to. And so I just learned this year that like what comes to you naturally is the right thing, you know? And I think about that with dating too, because this year I have gotten a little bit more bold and confident with like at least crushes that I've had. And like, if you know me, you know I am an independent guy and have been for most of my life. And I don't do a ton of dating. And there's a lot to it. There's a lot to why I don't date. And it's not as simple as I haven't found the right person, or it's not as simple as I have a lot of therapy to do, which I do. But it's not as simple as that. And, there's a level of me that I really value my independence, and I really value being able to make every single decision on my own. I will have, when I fall in love with someone one day, if that happens, I will have a lot of work to do on compromising and sharing and like meeting in the middle and like fighting in a way that is good and productive and not hurtful and making me feel like, what are we doing? Why are we fighting? And I'm going to break up with you, you know? So I have a lot of work to do on dating, but at the same time, I'm not going to make goals around dating. My goal is to get closer to my center, to learn more about who I am, and to deal with my own stuff. My goal is not to go on 3 dates each quarter, because I've done those goals, and that's not the way that I'm going to operate. The way that I'm going to meet somebody and fall in love, or just even date casually or whatever, is to continue to work on myself, to continue to work on my own success, to continue to learn about my own trauma and my own experiences as a human. And then when I meet the right person, or when I meet a right person, that will all come up and I can deal with that stuff. But I am over trying to date. I don't want to date. I'm not interested in dating just to date. And that's been my position my whole life, but it's been challenged a lot. And people say, oh, but don't you want to practice? And, oh, dating isn't a big deal and you can just meet people. Well, guess what? I meet people all the time. And I talk to gay people, I talk to gay men, and I talk to people all the time. And I don't need dating to help me be more social. And so anyway, that was a big tangent on dating. But I'm coming back to this lesson of like, I'm the person who knows the most about what I want to do in my life. And I am the person who knows the answer. And also, everything that is right will come to me more easily and naturally. Not that things don't take work, but that when you do the work, you get the result that you want. So that's kind of the lessons that I've learned this year. And now I would like to take you into 2025. So in 2025, I imagine myself really having a lot of growth. And I'm imagining myself really, 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 really looking back on 2024 this year as a foundation for so much growth. This year was so out of my comfort zone in a lot of ways, not in every way, but in a lot of ways, in being able to live the life that I want, that I learned so much. And they say, learning and growth only comes when you're outside of your comfort zone. And this year was absolutely outside of that comfort zone. So I'll probably do a video more about my 2025 goals later on in the year, in the month, because this is the final month of the year. But I just want to share kind of that, on social media, we love to share the fun stuff. And, to be honest with you, it's always been that way. If you go, when I go to my grandma's house and I look through the photo albums, there's no pictures that aren't of someone smiling or posing or riding their bike or doing something fun. For the longest time, like when we share pictures or videos, it's usually of the times that we want to remember. And we want to remember times that are fun and monumental and extravagant and cool. But I feel like I have shared a lot of down moments this year. And I've shared a lot of moments that were very real and scary and vulnerable. And, I'm planning on continuing to do that. And I think, when I think about my mission for 2025, it's all about my own thriving and the thriving of my communities, like my comedy community, the queer community, the communities just generally of diversity that I care about, because we're entering a year where there's going to be tough stuff. I think in 2025, I'm thinking of my thriving, I'm thinking of my elevation and my ability to get myself closer to where I want to go. And that to me is and has always been my mission with my social media and my brand and my comedy and my photo booth and my podcast. I want to share the journey of a man, me, on a journey to support himself with his own endeavors. And maybe in 2025, I find myself working at a big company. You never know. But like, and it's so funny because back in like 2009 and 8, when Miley Cyrus had the song The Climb, that song was hugely ahead of its time. Or not ahead of its time, but ahead of my time. And thinking about the journey versus the destination. Let's talk about that. I definitely want to share the journey. I want to share the highs, the lows, the struggles, the challenges, the triumphs, the failures. Because I think that in 2025, it's going to be bigger for me to share the behind the scenes than to share the final product. The final product is great, but like it's nothing like it is on stage. It's nothing like it is in person at a party. The behind the scenes is going to be more interesting. And I know that. That's the part where I know that what's interesting about me is my building and my thought process and my behind the scenes. It's not really necessarily that my stand-up is the greatest, funniest stand-up of all time, or that my songs alone are the funniest songs of all time. But I think what I would want to see if I was watching me is how do I do it, and like how am I thinking of it, and what are my goals, and like who am I connecting with, and what am I learning along the way. That's what I want to share in 2025. And that's really not what I want to share, but that's what I want to do. I want to learn, I want to grow, I want to find out how to achieve this goal of living on my own endeavors. I think that ultimately there are so many people out there who want to know how to do that, but there are also people who just want to have a job and a family and drive around and do their thing. And I think they're interested in that too. They're like, what's Ben doing? What's Ben up to? Like, what did Ben do today that is interesting? And so as I build my comedy career and as I build the different aspects of my businesses, that's what I want to focus on. And then what I also want to focus on is building out more services as a creative. So there's been a couple of times this year where I've coached people or helped them learn softwares around creativity, or helped them shoot content, or I've had people on my podcast and I've produced a lot in my podcast, and I have a set of skills that are really, really valuable to creative people, and I want to find a way to package those up and start offering those as services as well, in addition to my photo booth, in addition to the other projects that I have going on. And I think that if I can kind of create a 2025 where maybe I have a job, and I'll tell you my thought process with a job is like, I'm going to keep applying to jobs. If I get one, that's going to be really great for me. And then I can continue with my creativity on the side. Or if my creativity beats getting a job and somehow I'm making enough money to support myself, then I'll stop the job hunt. So the final thing that I would love to talk about is just boldness and all that I've learned about in 2024 about boldness. Boldness to me has changed over time. I think that when I started talking about boldness, it really was just kind of making a bold decision, and being bold. And I didn't totally know what it meant to be bold. But after all of these conversations that I've had on the podcast, there's a couple of things that make me think of what being bold is. The first one is something that I heard from my life coach in Nashville, which I love that it's a bougie sentence, but I probably see her like 2 or 3 times a year. But Claire in Nashville is going to be on my podcast this upcoming week. And what she said about boldness was separating yourself from others' expectations and going after what you want, not what you think you should want. That to me is an extremely, extremely good version of a definition of boldness. And that is what I'm trying to do in 2020, in the end of 2024 and in 2025, is really separate myself from what others say I should do, from what I think others think I should do, and from just the general ideas of what success is. Like we can be whatever we want to be, and it just takes work, and it takes authenticity, and it takes being who you are and going after what you want. But like, we do not have to do what we think our parents want us to do, or we don't have to do what we see other people doing. And so Claire's definition really sat with me and like really resonated. To me, also, what boldness is in risk, and taking risks and having a comfort with risks, and understanding that you really can't get anywhere without taking risks. I met with somebody who was looking to start a business and like wanted to chat with me about it, just kind of in a networking way and kind of an advice way. And he told me he was afraid of failure to a point where he feels like he's not taking risks. And his lack of taking risks is holding him back from living the life that he's imagined for himself. And to me, that is the opposite of boldness. But it's bold of him to be aware of it, and it's bold of him to identify it. So maybe that's the first step. But to me, like, taking risks, even in the existence of fear, is boldness, and choosing challenge and going after what you feel is right for you, even if you might lose something, or it might hurt somebody, or it might rock the boat, which is my big thing. I never want to rock the boat. So in 2025, everybody, we are rocking the boat. And I'm going to continue with the boldness journey. And it's a journey in bold. It's life in bold. And I love the title of my podcast. I love what it's brought to me as a human. And I'm excited to expand it in 2025 and to start thinking about ways to make people more interested in the podcast, and to get more listeners, and to get more people involved in the podcast and all of that. And then I would just say, generally, with my Ben Hawes brand, I've recently switched over to Ben Hawes HQ on Instagram and TikTok and my website, and also here on YouTube. And I'm excited to see where I can take that, and where I can build more into what is Ben Hawes HQ, because I'm really imagining it as something cool. I imagine Ben Hawes HQ as like the office of the business that is Ben Hawes. And if you came to the office and I was giving you a tour, I would say, okay, and here's the photo booth department, and here is the art department, and here is the podcasting department, here's like new media, here's like the innovation department, and it would all come together under Ben Hawes HQ. And the content that will manifest from that is that you'll see a little bit from each part of my life, but you'll also see the behind the scenes. You're in the office. You're not just the one downloading the app. You're in the office seeing people work, and I'm the people. And so you're going to see the behind the scenes. You're going to see the process. You're going to see how everything is working and how everything is made. You might end up at a team meeting. Like, this feels like a team meeting at Ben Hawes HQ. So I have to build that out a little bit more. Like, it's not clear necessarily quite yet what Ben Hawes HQ is. It's clear to me, but it's not clear to the world quite yet. And I'm building that, and I'm working on that. So with that, I'm so excited that I was able to share the 2024 that I lived. It hasn't been all easy. I think that sometimes on social media you see, hey, everybody, my photo booth is, out here doing 3 events, in the last 9 days. And you see me doing all of these different creative projects, and people tell me when they catch up with me, they're like, I just love seeing all your creative projects. I'm like, yeah, like, I would love for those creative projects to support me and to make me all my money, which it does right now, but I would like for there to be more money. I am envisioning this world for myself, and this social media landscape for myself, and like this relationship to the world that is unique and different than what other people have. And so I appreciate you watching. And with that, I hope you have a great day, an even better week, and may we all find the boldness to chase our dreams. See ya.